Good morning to each and every one of you. Welcome back to another live effective living early morning talk. I decided to bring the talks back. I was doing Monday through Friday. I told my coaching clients as of June 1st, I'm not doing them anymore. I'm going to be focusing on a number of other things, but backed by popular demand. I'm not going to do Monday through Friday because clearly that's a lot of time, but I'm going to kick off Mondays. Mondays is where we're going to come together and we're going to really look into subject matters that needs to be looked at in order for us to maximize our potential. This morning, listen guys, we're diving into a subject that I believe is so important to address: how to push past the pain. When I thought about this subject matter, I've been watching Facebook over the past 3-4 years, and this woman of God, she is a specialist. She is highly sought after, and she knows her subject. And I thought, boy, she's going to bring the energy for this early morning. Y'all going to get a wake-up call. Okay, this is a wake-up time. Dr. Tonya, welcome back to Effective Living.
Thank you so much, Coach, for having me here. I came with the bright colors early this morning, bringing the vibrancy. Thank you for having me.
Man, listen, you are such a blessing. You have leaned into a subject matter that is very, very important. For those of you that are watching from the Bahamas, you all know a therapist and counseling, those are not popular subjects. Those are not well sought after individuals, because what happens in this house stays in this house, and we don't want anybody to know. But the truth of it is pain and trauma and the reality of what it does to us is real. Tell our viewing audience a little bit about yourself and how this became your particular area of expertise.
Well, hello again, everybody. My name is Dr. Tonya Cunningham, and I am actually known as the grief doctor. I have been in this industry of death, dying, and pain for 35 years. Actually, it's been over 35 years. And as a result of that, it has really afforded me the opportunity to accompany hundreds upon thousands of people on their grief journey and healing journey. And what I discovered is most people really don't understand what it is. They don't understand what emotional pain is, grief and physical pain. So that's what kind of catapulted me into this particular space and this line of work for the Lord, is because I really got tired of seeing people hurt and suffer needlessly. I work with people, professional people, people of God, and the majority of my clientele are people right out of the church. So I really got frustrated and disappointed with seeing leaders be a public success, but a private failure when it comes to their emotions, especially the people of God, because that means we're living beneath the promises of God. Yes. So that's what kind of led me into this.
Listen, when you talk about the promises of God, so good. Let's talk about pain and the different types of pain. A lot of times people don't think about the elements of emotional or physical or mental. There's different types of pain. And you mentioned church. I'm from church, you're from the church world. And a lot of times we just suppress it and we push it under the umbrella. I'll pray about it. Talk to us.
Yes, you're exactly right. It's very important for us to understand the different types of pain. Of course, there's a physical pain. What that means, there's a biological response, a signal in our body letting us know if there's something hurting within our body. It's going to let us know, hey, something is wrong. But the ones I really want to kind of hang my hat on, I want to mention mental pain. That has to do with our cognitive status, how we're thinking. The cognitive status of a person, and that speaks to the psychological disorders that you hear about, or neurological conditions such as clinical depression, or someone who's dealing with bipolarism and things like that. But the one that I see prevalent in the people that I work with is emotional pain. Okay, what is that? That's pain that is associated, of course, with our emotional status, but it doesn't originate from a physical source. So this is why most people don't understand it and don't even think that they're experiencing emotional pain. So what causes emotional pain? Things that we experience in life, such as having a situation and we feel regret, or of course, grief. You know, anytime you give me a space to talk, I'm going to bring up that subject about grief because
That's right.
it's not about death only, it is about loss. So emotional pain, it really can hurt us physically. Why? Because it brings up things like aggression or sleep disturbances, or if you're having difficulty with your eating, you're not eating enough or you're eating too much, all of that can come from emotional pain, what we're feeling within. And something I want to mention about emotions is that we must understand that emotions and feelings are not the same,
Mm,
although we use them interchangeably. So, what are our emotions? These are sensations in the body. Sensations in the body, and it's caused by, listen to this, a release of chemicals within our brain. Okay. And so, when things happen to us, most of you have heard of this word called a trigger. And the reason is that's why it's important to unpack your hurt and deal with that because our brain will always remember what happened to us. It takes pictures of our life experiences as we go, the good and the bad. And when we experience something in the present, the brain goes back and grabs that memory and causes us to feel an emotion. So that's a physical. Now, what are feelings? Feelings are generated from our thoughts about our emotions. Okay. So here's the tricky thing about feelings. We cannot hang out there. Most of us have said, or we have heard people say, I was in my feelings when that person said that. We don't want to be in our feelings because the feelings can often be, listen to this, inaccurate. So this is the last thing I want to say about emotions and thoughts. Our thoughts and our emotions are like streets or avenues. What do we do on streets and avenues? We travel on them. Okay. So our vehicles travel on the street. So God created our thoughts and our emotions, listen to this, as avenues within us, ways for something to travel. What's traveling on those avenues? It's those chemicals called cortisol,
mm,
adrenaline,
yeah.
norepinephrine. And I mentioned those in particular because those are the ones that can cause physical pain within our bodies.
So good. So good. Dr. Tanya, you talk about this whole concept of us going through these experiences. Talk
Yeah,
to us just for a brief moment
yeah.
about knowing oneself. I mean, there are a lot of people who often, as you know, I'm not dealing with anybody, and they just, I know who I am. Have we done the work to really oftentimes know who we are in your work? Have people really gone there to really establish who am I truly in regards to not only what I'm capable of doing, but what did I
Mhm.
go through that brought me to this conclusion?
Absolutely. A lot of people are suffering with what I call identity crisis. So they're experiencing some people. I have one young man who's in his 40s and is experiencing physical pain because of undealt with emotional pain. And the root of it is identity.
Wow.
Father wasn't present in his life. So he really didn't know, again, how to function and how to move. So when I ask people about, do you really know who you are? When we start unpacking, what do you need to do? You need to process it. And when you're processing something, you always want to ask yourself 4 questions. How did that make me feel?
Okay.
What did it make me think? How did it make me behave? And what did it make me believe? That's how you process something. And when you're able to do that, then you can come into your identity.
When it comes to misconceptions in your field, clearly there are a lot of them, but people
Yes,
have these misconceptions that you like, oh Lord, that's who, that's where she's going, that's where he's going. They feel, what's this? They feel so right. No one can tell me. Talk to us.
yes, that's right. So a common misconception I see is ignoring your pain will make it disappear.
Well,
That's a huge one.
well,
Another one is that I can control my pain.
okay.
I
Well,
control the outcome of this. And then another popular one is if I let others know that I'm in pain, it's a sign of weakness.
okay.
All of those are misconceptions.
Yeah, yeah. All of those, ladies and gentlemen, are misconceptions. Now, this morning I wanted Dr. Tonya Cunningham to join us to help us to understand that you could be living for a long time and not address the elephant in the
Mhm.
room, not
Yes.
address the skeleton in the closet.
Yes.
And now you're at a place where you've become so accustomed to living that way
That's
that
right.
you haven't really laughed and enjoyed life in a
Hmm.
long time.
Hmm.
So today I wanted to bring this to the forefront because we're going to do some unearthing. We're going to go a little bit deeper to the point where you need to ask yourself some real questions and then possibly go and get some real help.
Hmm.
Okay? I have
Yes.
another question here.
Yes.
How can individuals identify the root causes of their pain, and why is the step that you will suggest important to addressing
Okay.
this?
Okay. Getting to the root of a matter is so vital. What we have found most of us have done is we've been treating the symptoms rather than getting to the root. And so when you're getting to that root, that means you're getting to the origin of that thing. Because currently the experience that we are enduring often not is the cause of this behavior that we're exhibiting. It goes all the way back to some things that happened a lot of times when we were children. So identifying and dealing with the root cause is essential to you healing, because roots run deep and far out. I was working with a particular person who was about to go through a divorce, and it had nothing to do with the divorce. It was because of grief that had not been dealt with when their mom died.
Wow.
So here we saved the marriage because they got to the root cause
Yeah.
of what was really going on.
Talk to us briefly about putting on a facade, because you talked about church folks. Church folks will pull up in the parking lot. I mean, just a mess. You know what I mean? Left home a mess. Didn't sleep all night a mess. But then when they walk in the hallways and sit in the pews and start clapping their hand, and you ask them, "How are you doing?" "Blessed and highly favored. I'm doing fine." When not that they
Yes,
should go and really splatter their feelings and emotions to everybody. But one of the things I
that's right.
learned early on when I was going through, somebody said, "How are you doing?" "I'm working through it." You
That's
know?
good. I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Hey, how are you doing? It's been a bumpy season, but God's keeping me as I navigate this season. That's the reality of it. Is I'm saying uh,
Hmm.
uh, I'm not exempt, and I'm dealing with something, but I don't have to go into the details. But I'm not going to put on a facade. Talk to us about the danger of consistently living in a lie, in a facade that only looks like it's right, because clearly you've seen a lot of clients. You're like,
Yes.
"Lord, is that person sitting in front of me?" When I know on the public side,
Hmm.
they don't
That's right.
look like they have any issues.
I'm so glad that you shared that about your responses. You're working through it, or it's been a bumpy season, because we have to acknowledge that. Now, the danger of not acknowledging that, it goes back to what we kind of hit just a little bit. It can cause physical illness within our bodies, because what we don't deal with internally, it can go to our cells, the cellular level, and create sicknesses such as high blood pressure, cancer, things like that. But it also causes problems, can be a detriment to our relationships within our families, our spouses, our children, our work relationships, and even in our church family relationships. And it can also impact our mental health status when we don't deal with those issues.
There are so many different forms of illness in the world today, and we're accepting those to be real and to be things that
Yes.
people should work through. One
Yeah.
that people shun or aren't confident in bringing to the forefront is mental illness. We clearly know more now than ever that we had a crazy uncle who he was crazy.
Yes, he was.
You know, we have a sister or a brother that's biological. That's your brother, and he don't have it all, right?
That's right.
But we pushed it to the side and just simply said he's short of patient, or she moody, or you know what I'm
Yes,
saying. She just never know what to say, when to say it. Talk to
that's
us
right.
about mental illness. And the truth is, there's no shame in your game in realizing I need to go be look. I need to look into the core dynamics of how I'm functioning, because I'm clearly hearing there are some inconsistencies in regards to what I believe I'm doing and what others are receiving from me.
Absolutely. And first of all, we must have an understanding that there is a difference between mental health and mental illness.
Wow. Go ahead.
Mental
Yes.
health has to do with our social, our emotional well being, how we connect with one another. And a lot of times when we don't address our mental health, it can lead to mental illness. Now, mental illness deals with more of a chemical imbalance within your body, like the hormones that we talked about, the cortisol and the norepinephrine and all of that. So there is that's when it's going to be clinically diagnosed by a doctor. And a lot of people use a method of treatment. They're using medication and, of course, interactive therapy and things like that. But it's very important to address that, because if you don't address a mental illness, it can really cause issues within yourself and within your family.
What's your position on? I know, but I'm just asking it so that people can hear.
Yeah. Mhm.
Christians really getting professional assistance in that of a therapist or a counselor who
Yes.
have the skill set to help walk them through where they are. And probably even sometimes it's not that there is something so blatantly clear that there's an issue. I remember when
Mhm.
I sat down in the last 6 months of my therapist, I said, I want you to go back. Just let's talk through some things and
Yeah.
help me to figure out what was going on. I just don't know. And I want to make
Mhm.
sure that I know. And so talk to us about that whole element of us getting clarity and being okay.
Absolutely, because the word teaches there is safety in the multitude of counsel. We just must make sure that we're getting the appropriate counseling for ourselves. Finding a Christian counselor therapist who is well balanced. And when I say well balanced, they understand the spiritual realm as well as the natural realm, because we can no longer ignore the natural realm. What do I mean about that? Our emotions.
Yeah.
We are spirit, soul, and body. And our
Yeah.
soul is comprised of our emotions, our will, and our thoughts. And when we are injured in our soul, it can certainly compromise our spiritual walk with the Lord. So we need someone to navigate, just like our pastors in the church. They lead us and navigate the way for us spiritually. We need someone who can do that same thing when it comes to our bodies and our emotions.
Tell me this. This is a little off subject a little bit, but I thought I'm going to ask it while I have you here.
Okay.
You are a spirit-filled woman, and I mean, you have this understanding down professionally, and you
Mhm.
have the understanding down in the spirit. I
Mhm.
mean, that's a blessing to the body of Christ. I mean, there are a lot of people who would dismiss one or the other. After you
Mhm.
become so astute that you're so informed, you might be like, you know what? I don't even want to try the spirit anymore because I'm
Mhm.
so informed and I'm now leaning towards it's all practical and nothing
Mhm.
spiritual. Or there are some people who they go all spiritual and they say, I don't never need the certification or the license because we're going to pray our way through this. You have
That's right.
done both sides of the aisle and continue to
Mhm.
walk in that. Talk to us a little bit about you accepting that dynamics.
Yes, I had to, before I could work in this, I had to go through my own healing experience and discovery, just like you said,
Mhm.
in that. And I'm understanding there is a marriage of the two. It's not either or. We need both of them, because we can't, in most instances, hear me out, worship pain away. It can go to an extent. But then if you are wounded within your soul, it doesn't mean that you don't go to church. We can go to church, we can praise and all of that, but you may not have a level of what is called deliverance or healing on the inside. So both. Now, what pastors are recognizing, if they don't have people in their church to help understand the mind, why? Because it's with the mind that we serve the Lord.
Yes.
So if
Mhm.
we don't get healing here, it's going to impact the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
So both are important. You got to understand your mind, how it works, and your brain,
Mhm.
because they are not the same. The mind tells the brain what to do, the brain tells the body what to do.
Could you do me a favor and share with our viewing audience this morning some effective strategies or techniques that you will find to pushing past the pain and moving forward? Because the goal is to move forward. You know, I heard a statement years ago and they say, don't, you know, if you're going through, keep going. Don't sit in it, right?
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Keep
Yeah.
going through. But there are some things one can do to help the
Yes.
process. Could you give us a few of those things that you consider
Ab-
to be very healthy?
yes. Pushing through doesn't mean that you don't deal with it. So the very first thing you can do is, like you said earlier, you got to acknowledge your pain, acknowledge that pain, and then you want to find out the root. Where did it start? Did it start with what I'm currently dealing with, or is it because of my childhood issues that I did not deal with? And then after you deal with that, then you want to confront it. You got to do something about it and not suppress it. This is what a lot of people are doing. They are suppressing. And lastly, I would say find your safe space, a space where that you can unpack. Even if you don't go to someone professional, if you're going to go to your family, you're going to go to your friends, someone that you can just unload without judgment, that's certainly going to help you to push through. So
Ladies,
pushing through doesn't mean that you don't deal.
this morning, listen, guys, you've got to watch this again. I want you, if you've been listening, you better put some comments in the comment section and just make note of this stuff. Okay? Work
Yes.
through it and work through it, like she just mentioned, is so good. So good. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Coach Ricardo Mella, and I'm joined with Dr. Tonya Cunningham early this morning, and we wanted to dive into a subject matter that I found to be real, to be one that's a touchy subject because a lot of people don't want to go there.
That's right.
And if I'm going to stick with this message called effective living, you have to get to what's keeping you from living effectively, And so, Dr. Cunningham, I talk a lot about the fact that sometimes people have the house, they have the career, they have, the car, they have, they have the vacation package and the retirement package, but they're like, my life just is a mess. Well, I don't know why you got the spouse, you got the children, you got all of these little so-called token things.
Yes.
But there is this inner work that hadn't been done.
Absolutely.
That hadn't been done. Talk to us a little bit about, you just mentioned some points, but inner works. When you hear that term, what do you want our viewers to remember when somebody say, have you done the work, or are you preparing to do the work in regards to the inner workings of who you are and what you've gone through, or what you are failing to address having gone through?
Absolutely. The word that I would leave for you is that God desires for us to be whole. HWHOL. What does that mean? That means spirit, soul, and body. So, really asking yourself, have I addressed some issues in my life that oftentimes I do know is causing me barriers in my life? So, I want you to ask yourself and really do a self assessment. And then once you determine if there is something there that keeps you from living effectively, then you want to do the work. And what does that mean? You got to sit in it. You don't park there. You're just pausing to sit to do the work.
So good. How would you describe mindset playing in this whole concept of overcoming pain? And what practices can help cultivate a resilient mindset? Because a lot of people don't realize, you clearly, when someone sit in your office and you're talking to them, you can say, oh, okay, this is a mindset issue.
Mm-hmm.
At the very core,
Mm-hmm.
they locked it. There's something going on here that's locked in that they are not addressing. It happened here, but it's locked in here. Talk to us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The mind is what I call the control center of the body again. And think about it, when the word, I believe, is in the New Testament, where it talks about it's with the mind that we serve the Lord. So it is very vital, again, having a resilient mind and addressing the hurt and the pain here and move to the heart, as he stated a little bit later. So what do you want to do? Here it is again. Take care of your mental health. Address it to see what's going on. How do you interact with others, and how do you interact with yourself? Because some of us are experiencing anxiety because we can't be alone. We're not used to being alone, or don't want to be alone because of some things that's happened. Take care of your mental health. And another thing you can do to take care of your mind is take care of your physical health. You may ask, what does that have to do with my mind? Because if you don't feel good physically, it's going to cause your thinking to be here, what we call stinking thinking. I don't feel well physically, and it's affecting my mental health. And then lastly, build some relationships that provide your support and guidance when you're going through these bad times and even good times.
In conjunction with what you just said, I think this is a really good spot to connect this I want some more advice again for that person. You may want to even reiterate what you just said for somebody who really feels
Mhm.
stuck. They like, hey man, I'm
Yes.
stuck. I feel like I can't move forward after I was laid
Mhm.
off, after the divorce, after the child died, after
Mhm.
the tornado took the house away, after the accident.
Yeah.
There's just so many different things. What do you say to that person who's watching today?
I would say to you is that know that you are not alone in that space. Many people are experiencing exactly what you're feeling, but you are not alone. And the second thing I would let you know is that as long as you are breathing, there is still hope. As long as there is no cognitive deficit going on within your mind, you can heal and you can recover. It doesn't matter what age you are. As long as you're alive and you're living, you can heal from that hurt and be able to move from being stuck.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Tonya Cunningham joining us here this morning here on Effective Living. I want you to tell our viewing audience about your book and your services. There are people who are watching us throughout the Metroplex. In addition to, I have very popular audience based in the
Mhm,
Bahamas, Jamaica, and
mhm.
Mexico. Thank you guys for joining us this morning. If you can, do me a favor, everybody, and share this. Tag somebody, because once again, especially for those of us in the Caribbean, especially for those of us in inner city, in this metropolitan area here in the Dallas Forward area, a lot of things we don't go and address. And the
Mhm.
truth is, it has this negative impact on us later because
Yes.
oftentimes we're not addressing it when we are given the opportunity to. So, Dr. Cunningham, please tell them about your book and your services and how people can get in contact with you.
My most recent release as it relates to my book is my children's book, and it's called Chelsea Cares. So I really want to talk about that one again. Chelsea Cares. I believe if we could get to our children and teach them all these things that you're teaching now, of
Yeah.
course, we would have a better world and they would have a better experience. Unlike some of us did as adults, it's geared toward 5 to 8 year olds, and I'm getting ready. It's the beginning of a series that I'm getting ready to do to address teenagers on up to adulthood. And you can definitely find it on Amazon. You can also find it on my website. It's drtonyacunningham.com, drtonyacunningham.com. And I also offer 15-minute complimentary consultations. They're called a discovery call. So
Okay.
you can reach out to me and I can help you discover how to get unstuck so that you can live an effective life. And if you're not following me on social media, please do, because I provide a lot of content that you can actually use in your healing journey.
Woman of God, this was so good. Thank you for giving us some of your time this morning. You're going to have to give us a word. Give us what the Lord is saying to you as we close out. I mean, closing words, closing thought, challenge that
Yeah.
person. I would say the vast majority of people who are watching my platform, who follows me, are Christians, the vast majority of them. So a lot of times, we're going in hope and belief that things are going to be well, but clearly
Mm-hmm.
we haven't addressed the elephant in
Mm-hmm.
the room. I want to use that term again. We haven't addressed the elephant in the room,
Yes.
and it's
Yes.
keeping us from becoming our best self. Closing remarks.
Yes. My encouragement to all of us is to just meditate on John 10:10. And I want us to have, this is what God wants us to have, is an abundant life, not an abundance of things. We can
Yeah,
have that, as he just stated earlier, but we want to have an abundance of peace,
yeah,
because he said clearly, Jesus said, in me you may have peace, but in the
yeah,
world, of course, you're going to have tribulation. So
yeah,
why is it that the Prince of Peace lives on the inside of us and we don't have peace? It is
yeah.
because of undealt with pain. So I encourage you to do the work. You're not too old, so that you can experience that Zoe kind of life.
I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, every Monday, 6 a.m. Central Standard Time, we'll be back here. I'll either be teaching or I'll have a guest like I've had this morning. And I just wanted to help. I want to be remembered for being the guy who helped either through the services I offered or connecting the dots to someone else who offered the service to help someone become better and maximizing their potential. I believe that we are here to shine a light in a dark world. And the way we do that is by addressing whatever we need to address that it will try to hinder us from being our best self. As Dr. Cunningham just mentioned, please go ahead and secure her book, follow her on social media, and do me a favor, tag about 5 people that you believe would enjoy this morning's talk. Love and appreciate you all. Once again, every Monday, same time, same place on YouTube and Facebook, right here, Effective Living. God bless you all. Thank you again, Dr. Cunningham.
Thank you.